On ABC Radio Brisbane, Steve Austin.
If I was to open the phone lines up right now and say, tell me about your family law or divorce experience, I could probably run a radio station for a year. So don't call. But we've been doing a series of stories about startup companies, and this one caught my eye. Now, if anyone has been involved in any sort of relationship breakdown, you know it's usually, not always, but usually quite an emotionally painful time. And I'm wondering whether, if you're married and you were going to get a divorce, whether you'd trust the artificial intelligence solution. So we're going to explore that in just a moment with my two guests. One person who's a divorcee who's used AI, and the other one is the creator of a platform of this AI program to help resolve, fix, or divorce. I often talk about on this radio station how high rate of divorce in Australia. It's a little bit mischievous of us today at a time when we're talking about same-sex marriage to talk of divorce. But the fact is, divorce is still slowly creeping up. Roughly half the married people in Australia will get divorced, I think, in the last sort of figures I saw. So how would you feel if you could use artificial intelligence to reach an agreement with your divorce and about your divorce and property settlement? No need to sit down with lawyers. Hallelujah. You communicate with your ex-partner via an online platform. Well, it turns out you can. And this conflict resolution technology was created by a Brisbane startup company. Bill White is the co-creator of Sanctian, and Sanctian created the platform Adeiu. Bill, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
And Katrina is here. Katrina is a divorcee who's used the technology. Katrina, thanks to you as well.
Thanks, Steve.
Do you want to tell me at all your divorce story without naming other parties and things like that? Are you prepared to?
Yes.
Tell me about it.
So I've been married for 30 years, with my partner for 35 years, and we were at the stage where our relationship had broken down, and we decided that mutually we would be better off separated. So
it wasn't too painful, I'm assuming.
It was emotionally painful, yes.
Okay.
And certainly it was a very difficult time. I don't think anyone does have an easy time of it, and so certainly I wouldn't say it was easy at all. It was quite emotionally difficult, and I know I was emotionally distraught for a long period through that.
35 years is a long time to have a relationship with someone.
Yes, it is.
Now, you chose this path, apparently. So what, no lawyers?
What we liked about this path was that my ex-partner and I could actually have a conversation and could actually work out the best property settlement for us with the guidance of the artificial intelligence, so that it is actually a court-approved property settlement, which is what we thought was a major benefit around the actual program. Some people can certainly come to a good settlement that they're both happy with, but it's not a court-approved settlement. So what we liked about this process was that there was a certain level of legal finalisation around the actual process. So
it's legally recognised, court-approved?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. And working with an AI program, so I'm a bit sceptical, but working with an AI program, did it take the sting, the pain, the emotional hurt out of the process at all?
Yes.
Or the emotional pressure, out of the process?
Yes, it did, because we looked at it as a business transaction. The emotional sting is very much around our personal situation and the separation and everything that was happening at that point in time. The actual separation of property we tried to look at it as a business transaction. So that's where the artificial intelligence and the advice that we got, and we certainly had mediator assistance also through our process. And when we say it takes the legal side of things out of it, we actually both got to sit with a lawyer, and for that period of time, that lawyer already had our information, because we gave all our information to the company and then released it to our lawyer through the system. So we still had the opportunity of independent legal advice, but we weren't privy to each other's legal advice.
So you treat it as a business negotiation or a contract?
Yes.
Which in a sense is what marriage at a very fundamental legal level is in the first place anyhow. It's a contract in a sense.
Yes, the property side of things and is very much a contract.
I'll come back to you if I may.
Thanks.
Bill White is the co-creator of Sanctian. And Bill, what Sanctian, your company, created Adeiu, which is what French for farewell or French for goodbye.
Yes, farewell, and farewell in the nicest of ways.
All right, pitch it to me. What have you done? So Katrina used it, it worked, and found it was, workable.
Okay.
And it's court recognised, which is the big thing, I guess, in my mind. But
Yeah, absolutely.
Walk me through it.
In our current state, we use lawyers in the system. Very important to do that. People need the independent legal advice, and 70% of people actually don't access lawyers currently. So what this platform does is it has a bot at the beginning, a chat bot, a long-term consultation, if you like, and that's basically an entry point into the system.
So you go onto your webpage or the program's webpage,
Yes.
and you start talking, answering questions as a conversation takes place. It's
Yes.
actually with a artificial intelligence program.
That's right. So it's conversational artificial intelligence, and so it's essentially a chatbot. It's an adaptation, or put on steroids, the sort of thing that you use for pizzas, but it's much deeper intelligence.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. That's a good analogy.
Yeah, and so we were able to string a whole lot of pizza ordering applications together, and create this long form conversation where it's a mixture between a lawyer's first consultation and a mediator's intake. And so it's led by the person having the conversation. It's not just a form, do you want
Okay, so you're not filling in a form.
No. So that's why it's artificial intelligence, because what it does is it's led by the conversation as to what it addresses next.
Okay. So it's quite smart and quite high level.
Yes.
And you're not ticking boxes in a form. You're not jumping to the demands of a bureaucratically designed computer program.
Yeah.
It's asking you questions, and you have all the sort of the power or the control about how you answer those.
That's right. And what it aims to do is it aims to develop a separation and divorce plan. So the first party has the conversation. It creates the plan that suited that person. Then the partner is invited to come along and have this conversation as well. And the idea is that you work through, on a do-it-yourself basis, through this plan. That's the lead-in bot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. At the other end of the spectrum...
Just explain what a bot is. It's short for robot, I guess, isn't it?
Well, it's really, in this case, it's really more for a chat bot.
Okay.
It's a chat bot. And so we're not looking at R2-D2.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about a chat bot that can store in its artillery. Well, that's probably not a good word.
Mm-hmm.
It's in that place.
Yes.
It can store the very best of information from the best minds.
Okay.
And people can access it as they require it.
All right. So it's legally recognised. Lawyers are basically taken out of the equation, and the software liaises or links into family court case law of relevance to each unique separation journey. Is that right?
That's future. Currently, we are using lawyers, and we have a mission. We have a mission to give people access to justice.
Right. Okay.
Okay, and so what lawyers do is currently they populate the common negotiation space with an opinion as to what the prospects of each party are.
Yes.
We coalesce that and then people can negotiate in that space, knowing the parameters of what a court would find.
It's often the lawyers that make things worse. I've spoken to a few different couples who've broken up, got divorced, and the lawyers often, they often reach an amicable arrangement. And the lawyers say, no, you can get more than that, and that's when things go pear-shaped. Katrina,
Yes.
Does that resonate with you?
Yes, I sought my own independent legal advice because I wanted to know what I had ahead of me, what sort of parameters I had ahead. And I had an awful experience. I'd done my research. I chose what I thought was a reputable family lawyer. And 8:30 the night before, I got an email that said your appointment is still happening tomorrow, but it's with a different lawyer. And I went, I wasn't happy, but I'd been waiting 2 weeks for the appointment. So I went along and I had made it clear that the appointment was purely about me being able to get information because I'd never experienced anything like this before. And certainly I didn't know people, I wasn't close to people that had been separated or divorced. So I really just wanted some advice so that I know what was going to happen and also what the entitlements were. And the lawyer tried to engage me immediately, also suggested that we send a letter to my partner and start the legal process.
Attack.
Yes.
Right, okay.
And I said, I'm really just here if you can answer my questions and give me some advice.
Right.
And then the lawyer started talking about things that were totally irrelevant to my case. And I asked him if it was relevant to me. And after 15 minutes, he said, no, all those things that I've spoken about aren't actually relevant to you. I said, well...
what are you telling me for,
exactly.
you goose?
I said, you're billing me at, $600 an hour.
Oh, really? Oh, there you go. Time-based costing. There you go.
To give me advice that is not relevant to my actual case.
Right.
And when I started asking the particular questions that I had, he actually then said, I'm not actually an expert in family law, so I can't answer your questions.
Oh, for goodness sake.
And I said, well, that's why I made an appointment.
Why am I here and why are you charging me?
Yeah, I said, I made an appointment with a family law expert and then it got changed at 8:30 last night when I actually had no opportunity to change anything myself. And that experience that eventually, I basically left really upset and because it's a traumatic time in your period in that
a
time.
period of life, yeah.
And I wanted advice, I wanted help, I wanted a bit of clarity, and I walked out feeling, cheated and abused.
So we're talking about artificial intelligence helping you go through a divorce. Katrina has gone through the process. Bill Wright is the co-creator of Sanctian, who created the divorce platform Adeiu. That's ADIEU. It's a local Brisbane startup company. And if you're a law graduate, I'd consider doing something other than law right now because this is the sort of digital disruption that ends law, a future in law. So you're in a trial period at the moment, Bill.
Yes.
It's looking to, you'll actually be tapping in eventually into family law case history online, which you can do. In other words, the artificial intelligence will read case law.
Yes.
And have that in its brain, basically.
Yes. So we've got, it's about 75 criteria that we go through to analyse case law to get relevant cases. But we have a vision where we are about getting people contained, constrained and specific family law advice from lawyers that share our ethos. And so what we're really trying to do is get the very best of lawyers, which is the ability to make professional judgments. And so we're trying to create a platform that gives people access to that and not have lawyers burning time on really clerical things.
I used to work as a researcher producer for 730 Report many years ago, and I once worked on a story where a woman was going through a divorce which took 10 years. Can you believe it? 10 years. It was absolute hell. It was hell to research, let alone anything else. Ross Giddings had an article in Fairfax Media recently that said the average less complex family law case costs each party between $20,000 to $40,000. And complex ones cost around about $200,000, around about there. What would it cost to go through the process of Adeiu, Bill White?
Basically, $5,000 for each party. It's a fixed price, It has lawyer advice and mediators built into that price. And if you have children, it would be $6,500. Same things built in. But it's very important that people have the ability to continue on and get more legal advice if they wish. And they can do that outside the fixed price
So it doesn't
arrangement.
restrict any external... Okay.
No, we would never want to discourage people from legal advice.
So how does the family court regard this now? So it's legally recognised? So the family court is saying, yep, this is good.
So what's happening is we have a lawyer who drafts the consent orders and submits them to the court.
And the family court judge
Yep,
looks
the
at it,
registrar.
assesses it, or registrar.
Yep.
Well, it doesn't even need to go to a judge. It can just go to a registrar.
It goes to a court registrar.
Okay.
And so this is really very much about streaming the process.
How far along are you in this? So there's still further, more advanced steps to go with this AI program.
Absolutely. We're probably on I'd say we're on at least a 3-year journey to get to industrial strength.
Okay.
Or capability. We've set up the parameters for the analysis, the crunching of case law. We have lawyers who have an ethos that this is about settlement, this is about peace and harmony in families. It's about helping people who are better off apart get apart.
My guests are Bill White, co-creator of Sanctian. Sanctian created the artificial intelligence divorce or separation platform called Adeiu. Katrina is a divorcee who's used the technology. Katrina, let me come back to you. Relationships are a human-to-human construct. And I'm wondering if we're actually losing something. I know it's painful, and I know it can be traumatic, if not worse in some cases, sadly, but the actual facing... It's like that SBS program, Look Me in the Eye, when you have to actually sit across a desk and look the other person in the eye. There is an emotional event taking place, whether it be good, bad or ugly or what have you, but there is... In other words, it does do something psychologically. And at the very least it says, yep, it's all over. But you lose that with this to a certain extent, or do you, Katrina?
Well, in my experience, we didn't. I think in the traditional experience where you both engage a lawyer and negotiate by letter after letter after letter, you don't actually have that personal contact. We actually had personal contact, so my partner and I were sitting in the same room. You agree on a number of parameters before you actually proceed, like valuation of your property and assets. So we actually did that together. And so we actually felt quite empowered through the process. And there was lots of opportunity to still see each other through that
Face to
process
face.
and negotiate. We were
Speak
empowered.
those things that still needed to be spoken about.
Yes.
In the back of my mind, I saw a few months ago a woman who was very close to me many years ago. And, you know, this woman, our relationship ended, but I loved this woman. And it was clear to me, at least in my mind, and I'm assuming, but there were unspoken things. Was our relationship ended I ended the relationship. I said, okay, I'm gone, bye. But it was clear that psychologically there were still unspoken, unresolved elements. And I wonder if an AI program makes that worse. In other words, doesn't allow you, for all the ugliness of a divorce or cohabitation or a de facto breakup, that there are things that needed to be said that psychologically end as well as legally end, you know, the relationship.
Well, we had that opportunity through the mediation.
Okay.
So I feel that we actually had the opportunity to have more conversations and more contact, and we worked on things together so that we actually did have opportunity for each other to understand exactly how we felt and where we were at that point in time.
Okay.
I think the legal system can actually remove that contact because they put you at war with each other.
Yeah. Yes, how very human of lawyers. Bill, let me come back to you. You're going through the program with the AI. So you're working with Adeiu, you're going through, it's asking you questions, you're talking about it. And all of a sudden, Katrina realises, no, I can salvage this relationship. We've still got something. There's something we want to do here. Can you pull out? Can you stop?
Yep.
Does this hinder that human communication relationship where occasionally it does happen? I know a couple it's happened to.
Yep.
They were going through a breakup And all it was needed was actually human-to-human conversation to talk about those small things in a relationship that were bugging them, that had become big things, and they didn't break up. They actually realised they had a communication problem, not an impossible relationship.
Yep. I guess we premise around giving people freedom to opt out at any point. And so even in our charging structure, we charge in 4 pieces and you can drop out at any time. And it's for that very good reason.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're going through a process that you're coached through by an experienced mediator who is all about conversations. So this
so it's
may
not
be,
an entirely computerised program.
No.
at all. Okay.
So we have 2 extremes. We have the bot that is the entry point,
Mm-hmm.
and at any time people can opt out to humans.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the best place to get to, as far as we're concerned, is the human interaction with an experienced coach who is helping you ask the hard questions.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people say, look, we've sorted out the kids. Okay, well, let's dig down a bit deeper. Are you, what's happening at Christmas? It's those hard questions. So
Yeah,
maybe
shared custody.
Yep.
You know, if there's a domestic violence order against one party,
Yep.
all sorts of things.
That's right.
That's all part of the deal.
That's part of the process.
Okay, all right.
Yep.
I'm assuming it would work for de facto couples, same-sex couples, any
Yes.
of those arrangements whatsoever.
Absolutely. And if we dig down into stats, we might see divorces being 50,000 a year. We estimate that divorces plus separations is probably more like 120,000 a year. We
So
think
you think the current figure of 50,000 a year for the divorce at the moment is grossly underestimated?
grossly understated.
Really? Okay. Was that your experience, Katrina? Or you went down the AI path, so you avoided that experience.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. When you speak with the Law Society or law, because you have to meld this into legal databases, what do they say, Bill?
We have a lawyer as part of our team.
Obviously.
So we're a five discipline team, and
What are the 5 disciplines?
law,
Mm-hmm.
accounting,
Mm-hmm.
design,
Mm-hmm. Data control or data analysis,
yes,
and another one.
a technologist.
Yeah,
Yes,
okay,
yes,
of course.
technologist.
Okay.
Otherwise, we couldn't have artificial intelligence.
Yes. Okay. So these are the disciplines. Now, so anyone can basically jump on now, go online and start the process, or do they have to be referred by a lawyer or a family court order?
Right. You can go online and you can ask to be part of the testing of the bot. Okay, so we're developing this bot,
Mm-hmm.
or you can join one of the pilots, and we've got a pilot in Townsville, a pilot in Brisbane.
So there's a pilot program running now here in Brisbane.
Yes.
Katrina, give me the verdict. You experienced it.
Yes. Look, I've recommended this.
35-year breakup.
Yes.
That's pretty tough.
Yes. The breakup is separate to the property settlement, though. I look at it, the breakup is the emotional tie that you have, and whatever reasons come into every individual relationship breaking down. The property settlement is very much the business side of let's try and get this done. In our experience, my ex-partner and I wanted to move forward quickly. We
Okay.
decided that once we both decided that our marriage was at an end, then it was a matter of let's not draw this out over a number of years, and let's not lose everything that we've gained and built together over the years in lawyers' fees. So that's why we wanted a fairly hasty sort of process so that we could both move on with our lives. And he'd met a new partner, so he certainly wanted to move on as quickly as possible. So this suited us, that we had an opportunity to then not draw out that emotional connection, and actually, if our marriage is over, let's declare it over and let's actually get the property settlement done as quickly as we can. And we still need to wait for our divorce proceedings because we're not 12 months down the track. But I know in myself, once you've got that certainty, then you can move forward with your life, and you're not being constantly brought back to the negotiations, and you're not waiting for a letter or an email to arrive and going, what's happening next? So this gives you're empowered, it gives you certainty, you're working to timelines, you know what the cost is, and certainly it was something that eased the trauma that I experienced.
Katrina Whiffen, thanks very much for coming in.
Thanks, Steve.
Bill White, co-creator of Sanctian, who created the platform Adeiu. Bill, thanks to you as well.
Thank you.